soon, and you never stop getting yourself prepared for the next level, because inside each corporation, maybe you want to be just the bottom person, and that's fine for you, but be the best bottom person you can be. And most of us, though, just through age and process, will start wanting to climb. I'm pretty happy where I am. I could retire where I am, those kind of things. I'm a supervisor, but that's just my comfort level and where I am. But I could go higher if I wanted, but I'm very passionate about what I do. So, anybody have any questions? Anybody want to give me a name? I'll run it real quick. So yes, sir.
Well, it relates to what you were just saying. Among all the tools that you use for background investigation, and as you consider what other employers use, what part do social networking sites play?
That's a good question. Yeah, we'll check your social networking sites, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. You know, I'm not a big, I got 2 fingers to type, you know, that kind of thing, but and I stay off of that stuff a lot of times, you know. But yeah, we'll look at that, and we can tell the verbiage that's being used and blah blah blah. And if you're like, oh yeah, I just went out and got, you know, if all your friends are out getting stoned and are drunk every weekend and whatnot, and you know, they're f-bombing every couple of minutes, you know, maybe that does play something, maybe it doesn't, but I think you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. You know, are we starting to see a picture here? We're going to give you a polygraph too, and basically one of the questions is, anything you told us so far been a lie? And we call it a memory walk when I was in background investigations, because it was, you know, I was a background investigator. We'd have one office and then a polygraph machine, which is all hooked up to a laptop nowadays. We did it in another building, and we always called it memory lane from my office across the street over to that building, because when he's walking with the polygraph examiner, they'd be like, oh, I just remembered. Oh, we've been in this for 4 months, and you start remembering between that street and that street, you know, kind of thing. So just be straight up. Yeah, I did this, blah, blah, blah. I was a little arsonist when I was a kid. I used to do grass fires all the time, you know, those kind of things. So, yeah, but, you know, I'm 7 years old, you know, playing with matches kind of thing. So, but, you know, that's something I remembered, and I had to come forward with. So, you know, there's going to be psychological exams that we want to make sure that it's about a 3-4 hour written test, and then you got to meet a shrink. We call them shrinks, you know what I mean, psychologists, professionals, you know. But you know, they, you know, you're gonna have to sit there and talk with them, and I think half the time they're probably crazier than we are. But you know, that's just things you're gonna have to do. There is a lot of different things for what we require. We just don't hire anybody. You know, and then when people screw up, and we've had people in our department that don't work anymore because, you know, life changed or something happened, and, you know, traumatic incidents happen and things build up and baggage builds up. Take care of your baggage and come clean, and if you start having problems, get the help before, you know, everything goes down tube and you lose a good, you know, $80,000-$90,000 a year job.
Do you recommend calling and checking on your resume, or is that a nuisance to the business?
Would I hiring somebody to check my resume or to write?
No, like if I turn in a resume, like do you just call and be like, oh, I'm calling to check and see on my resume?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you can. What I usually do, yes is the answer, I guess. But what I usually do every time I make contact, you have an interview, or I make contact with you. Say, well, you know, I appreciate your time. When can I expect to hear? I don't want to bother you. I know you're busy, but what should I expect next, just so I'm aware, and is there anything I can do to prepare? And so that's showing attentiveness, that's showing a desire, and you're trying to clarify things too. So that's what I would do.
Okay.
Always ask questions. You know, you don't want to be on the phone every 10 seconds and those kind of things. But if, you know, you don't. It's your job. You know, you can just put the letter in and think, maybe it'll call me, maybe it won't. I guess they didn't call me, so they don't want me. You know, there is a process, especially when you get into government, you know, kind of professions. But you know, at the same time, private corporations, absolutely. I just call, you know, and just check on, you know, my coffee shop. Somebody stops by a second time or a third time. I hired one girl. She just stopped by a third time, and it wasn't intrusive, and it was very much the way she did it, and it was very professional, and she just wanted to say, I appreciate your time. You haven't been here, but I've heard she was there though, and I was impressed by that, and she still works for me. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, real quick. A lot of organizations request that you submit a resume online. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if your department does that, but how realistic is it? Because I know they're inundated with hundreds and hundreds. What are some ways to make, say if you do go online, to make your resume stand out? I mean, because besides keywords that they have you use, or would you suggest just the direct approach?
Yeah, that's a good, I'm not sure I'm the best one to answer that. I'm gonna have to answer it off the top of my head because we don't accept resumes online. It's definitely a testing process that you have to go through and show up and be there at a certain time, date, turn in your resume, and then we can tell you when the next process is. So I haven't dealt in that area as much, but for one, I would make it longer rambling. I think there's an acceptable level of wording. I'm just trying to think of the best way to. Honestly, you might have to ask another speaker. I'm just trying to think. I haven't wrote one in 17 years. I've read a lot of them, but because I'm very much, honestly, being straight up, I don't really care too much about a resume as much as I do. I'm gonna find out more talking to you in 5 minutes than I am going to be a resume. You know, because anybody can write pretty and those kind of things. It's important, and there are companies that rely very much on that. I have a friend that's an executive bank manager, or he was vice president, or one of the executive vice presidents of Washington Mutual. 2 years he's still out of a job, but he's got a very, very technical field where he designs data programs and everything for the bank and whatnot, and banks, half of them aren't around anymore kind of thing. So he's still in that, trying to get his resume out, and he says he has to submit it all the time. So I wish I could answer, but I don't want to blow smoke on you. So I can make up something if you want to hear it.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'd rather have the truth. So.
All right. Anything else, and I'll let the next speaker come up, and I'll head off to my next adventure.
What type of responsibilities do you deal with at your current level?
In my current position?
Yes.
Yeah. Right now, I supervise a neighborhood patrol officer unit, which is community programs and activist kind of events and whatnot. We deal from Summerfest out there. It's a community big festival, those kind of things. We'll help with that. But day to day, my officers will go out and will target blighted or problematic businesses, houses, apartments, those kind of things. So, we might say, oh, this business has been running, kind of a shady program for a while, or this is a really crappy hotel or motel, should I say, here, and we've had a lot of prostitution activity, and we'll target that. My officers don't usually respond to the 911 calls per se, unless they're just out and something happens. Of course, they'll respond to it, but they'll pretty much go after more of a proactive type of enforcement activity is what they do, and then do community events like this or community functions like this too. So it's just a nutshell of it, but it actually does take 40 hours a week. I just give it to you in about 40 seconds.
What are some key attributes and things a person should have if they're wanting to pursue a career in the police department?
And what was the first part though? I'm sorry.
What are some key attributes a person should need to have?
Alan, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm afraid if we go into detail here, we may not have time
Okay.
for the other
Yeah.
speakers. And
Integrity,
Huh.
truthfulness, the end. All right.
Thank you
very much.